My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
Yeah, there we go. Welcome everyone to the Night of Ones podcast, episode 84. We are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous rapper that doesn't rap all the time, a resident influencer and IG star shooting the breeze talking UCF sports. Remember to like and follow us on YouTube, IG, every social media platform we're on. Click subscribe, smash that subscribe button, all the stuff we're supposed to tell you that you never take action on. And check out the 70 plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle, Big 12 Huddle, 4 from Florida, which I will say, I love the name of that podcast. And there's a new live stream here in the show notes. Well, we're streaming live now. Maybe we'll do something during game days too. So Nobra is here in the background doing some producing. Nobra, why don't you pop on up?
Hey now.
I'll do my best Roger and ask you for a hair flip. I don't know why he does that, but I'm gonna pull my best Roger. Yeah, that's about right. Mine doesn't go anywhere. So hey, Nobra, who else is in the background waiting for you to pop into the show?
No one.
Oh, hey, it's like I knew the answer to that. So we're on a side chat. We had to go up, change over to WhatsApp from text because we had all kinds of text collisions. And it starts out earlier today or yesterday. Guess whose birthday it is, audience? I'll give you 3 seconds and I'll pop back in. Is Rogers. Rogers' birthday is today. And he's like, guys, Can someone else host today? It's my birthday. And that led off to a cacophony of kids' birthdays being today. I have to wake up at 4 a.m. Here's a Taco Bell crunch wrap that we made, and all that fun stuff. So Trey is ghosting us as always, but he swears that his hard work for the season's over, and after this week, he will be around more often. I really hope that's true because getting his insight into some of this football, the new football players that are coming on, is always wonderful. So guess, my dear gentle listener, who you have left, who's always here, but I won't be next week. It's Josh. So what we're going to do today is have a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about the new players. We're going to talk about the Thiam debacle. And we're going to talk a little bit about stuff that Alan doesn't want to watch because, truth be told, there's a lot more of that going on than almost anything else. And maybe a little bit about Nil and all the fun things going on with that. Nobra's going to produce. He's going to go behind the scenes. I'll try to pull him in sometimes. We're not going as he puts himself behind the scenes already. I love that. He'll keep doing his production. You'll see the things there. If you're watching us live or if you're listening to us in post and want to add comments afterwards, we would appreciate it because the Josh Show is fun, but it's not as fun without having listeners and viewers like you. So please let us know about anything. Let's get off the top of the show notes and let's talk about the new players. So we have 3 new players that are coming in and a lot outgoing. Now, the ones that are already leaving. We've already talked about these a few different times. And that spring transfer window has opened up. It's approximately 10 days where all kinds of chaos ensues. We already talked last week about Nico probably not coming here, and that should be solidified to UCLA by now. I think that is factual with some interesting information, like if something works on the House bill that he gets his full $4 million. That's a fun story because of all the nil stuff happening that maybe we'll talk about later, but you want to hear about Connor Meadows, I'm sure. So we have 3 incoming transfers. We have Connor Meadows, we have Aymeric Koumba, and we have Noe Ruelas. Noe Ruelas. This is what I've been doing some research on the names and when I can find them in name generators. I'm trying to get the great names and have them proper for you. Noe Ruelas is the name of the kicker that just popped in. So let's talk about Connor Meadows from Tennessee State. He started his career at Tennessee, possibly has some familiarity with some of the coaching staff. As you know, at least one came from Tennessee. He's a 6'4", 300-pound offensive lineman, so about the same size as me. That's a joke. And he was a 3-star prospect in high school from Trenton, Tennessee. So we keep adding from the portal transfers, trying to plug in areas of need. And at this point, when we're at the end of spring practice, we know what we need. We know where the deficiencies are, and my guess is that the coaching staff are bringing in not only people to push others who are either solidifying their position or they need depth, but things of true need, which could be things like positions like wide receivers that have a lot of experience, or kickers, which we already worked on. Offensive line, pretty new this year. Lots of people left. A couple people went up with Gus to FSU. So I can see having a standard traditional size and shape of linemen coming down here to help bolster the line. Maybe we can get to the almost like 6 to 8 deep we need to have a really great offensive line. So we also have an edge from Michigan. Actually, originally he played in Michigan for a little bit. Sparingly is what the show notes say. Sparingly is nice. And he was a 3-star prospect from high school. He's from France. He's 6'5", 260. So this is someone that has been through coaching staffs that have usually a pretty good conditioning program. 2 years, so he should be there with Jim Harbaugh a couple years ago with a national championship, which who knows what that's going to do. So getting good coaching, coming down here to Orlando and trying to get more than sparingly play. Again, we have a lot of holes to fill in different areas due to both the coaching change and NIL or NIL, whichever you want me to say is fine. That should be the poll for next week. Is it NIL or NIL, or do you even care? Maybe we'll make that as the poll. So someone who wants to come down here, who has some has the the prototypical height, maybe I'd say the weight's probably interesting because we're probably playing more of a faster defense than we have in the past, but we still need the lines to be what they need to be to get the job done. So sounds like someone who has a good shot at helping with depth, maybe cracking the ones at some point if you get enough work in the summer. One person we absolutely needed, and this was talked about through different practices, from the open practices, some of the practices that shareholders and others were able to attend. We have a problem at the kicking position right now. And I will say we don't have the long snapper we intend to have playing on Saturdays, right? Already on the team right now. That left a bit of a gap. And so the person who's doing the long snapping now will not be the person who is long snapping, more than likely. Good practice, but not more than likely not who's snapping for the season. So perhaps some of that has been part of the problem, but typically speaking, we needed another kicker, right? So Noe Ruelas came from James Madison. He has, if you look at his numbers kicking, I'm going to see if I can pull this up. It was good when I was taking a look at it while this was coming in, because we all knew like a kicker was necessary for that, and the reality is it's always good to have more than one. he has some good stats. I'm trying to pull them up. I thought the longest was about 54, 56. Here we go. Got it. So 2 for 5 from 50 plus. Actually, 3 for 7 across his career. From 2022 to 24, has 2 years left. Born in West Hartford, Connecticut, so a little bit south of Springfield, Mass, and was in James Madison the last couple of years. I believe he started elsewhere too. I think Connecticut, which would make sense for West Hartford. Um, and I mean, career field goal percentage is 75% each year, and 12 for 16, 3 for 4, 16 for 20, and pretty much those like last year, we're talking 4 for 4, 20 to 29, 5 for 5, 30 to 39, 5 for 6, 40 to 49, and 2 for 5, 50 plus with a 52-yard long last year. Only missed 2 extra point attempts. So this is someone who should be a solid kicker. My guess would be coming in to be the starting kicker, or push Grant Reddick to get back on target. No pun intended. This is definitely just someone. I'm looking at the last 4 games right through the bowl game, where James Madison beat Western Kentucky. We're talking the only miss in the last 5 games was long. It was a long one. It was over 50 yards. So and everything else was good from 50 plus on. So this is what we need, and perhaps we paid. I don't know how that works in these these days, but we're talking 94% extra point percentage, 83 points last year. Noe Ruelas. I my guess is that's the name we're going to be seeing, who's going to be putting field goals up for us, at least in the first 2 games. And we'll probably see him at that point. And it has 2 years and is a junior. So I'm really excited to. I hate saying this, and this is where everyone else would get on me for this. I'm excited to have a kicker who seems to know what they're doing. We were used to having Boomer like a couple years ago just hit everything out of the park, and kind of probably was pushed too hard by that coaching staff, or on himself. It could have been that too. Um, but we had Boomer, and we've had this like history of amazing kickers over time, and UCF has been like I'm trying to think back when we were like, oh, I don't know about the kicker, and how good we're going to be. Even last year, we're doing all right. Kicking's been pretty decent, but let's just talk about like in i- in kicking, we had Matt Wright, of course we know, Matty Ice, Sean Moffitt, Matt Prater, Nick Tkachoi, Michael Torres. If we're going back, right? But we're even Obarski pretty really solid. We just haven't had this many years of just what we went from Obarski to Boomer to what do we got now? I'm trying to go back of how long it's been since we've had like even Grant Reddick was pretty good. Missed a couple, but pretty good enough in a whatever season. But if you're talking, I love how Delahaye is still on here. If we're going back to like, if you're going back, let's go back like near 2010. Jamie Boyle, Sean Gavin, Sean Moffitt, Rodrigo Chiarte, Donald Delahaye for a hot minute. Hey, listen, he had 1 extra point. He made it. That's great. Matt Wright, Dylan Barnes, Obarski, Boomer, and Reddick. Like we're not talking about. There's not a huge. There's not a huge drop off. There's like 1 or 2 years we're like, what's going on? But we're talking about except for Rodrigo, we're talking about 75%, except for a year of Obarski, for like the last decade plus. We haven't had like we really need a kicker time of year, and I feel like because what Grant is doing in spring, we need it. So I'm glad I'm glad that's we're getting someone who seems to know what they're doing. Who knows will be Matt Prater or not, who will probably be an NFL Hall of Famer and is only 67% field goal percentage at UCF, albeit I still think he was phenomenal when I was there because that was when I was a student. So um, I'd ask, if you have any thoughts on any of the newcomers, but if you do, throw it in the chat or instead pop it up where the comments are open. So if you want to add in your 2 cents there as well, always fun when we do something live. So those are the football incoming transfers. UCF, this is what we live in, and I laugh because when we look through these show notes, and I'm like, we have 32 total transfers. Remember when you had like a cap or you had to make the numbers work to get past 25 and had to have walk-ons that did this and we're in the new normal. I don't think it's the basketball new normal where we're going to have basically a new team almost every year. Darius Johnsons of the world are not going to happen too often. But this is where we're at. 32 new transfers in the 2025 cycle. And I feel like in football, we'll have this mix of oh, I remember that guy, and a bunch of who the heck is this? And hopefully they can make a name for themselves on the field, so we remember who they are. That's maybe I will take some executive privilege and talk about college sports these days. We'll see. Maybe that's that will be there. So those are the new players. We have some other news, and if you want to talk football or talk basketball, feel free to throw that in the comments or the chats. Be glad to talk about that. So let's talk about UCF basketball. And I'm really going to stick to one piece of this. We have our notes about outgoing players, and you all know where mostly everyone's going. This is probably not news to most, but or the fact that we have absolutely almost no one left on the team from last year. That's just this is a different era of collegiate athletics. In the power conferences, for the most part, but most of the places where there is money to be made. So we have Pooh still back on the team, but of course he's typically here, when there's 2 or 3 minutes and we're up by 30. Cham. All right, so Mustafa Cham obviously is no longer on the team, and there's so many things that I would like to say. And if you didn't know, Mustafa Cham officially signed with Cincinnati a couple of about a day or so ago. And here's everything I know about this that I've observed and heard. So it starts back in January, where sometime in January, I'll say allegedly. I like putting allegedly over there. I work in law at the time, so allegedly, sometime in January is when he was being shopped around by the gentleman who brought him into town. I'm blanking on names right now because there's so many things in my head I want to say, and I'm just trying to be very mindful of it. So the gentleman who has a camp over in Africa, who has a lot of these great athletes who, you don't know they're great athletes. They're in these camps learning and growing into sports, which is in itself wonderful. Came over to the U.S., came to UCF, and Mike's in the comments. So he comes over here. He does really well for the first half of the season, and somewhere around January. Thank you, Mamadou Nenjai. Thank you, appreciate that, Mike. So he who has with, I believe, his brother a camp in Africa to help develop people for basketball, which onto itself sounds great, and I love that. But anywhere in the world, the basketball is a phenomenal sport. And I started playing basketball in my 30s just to exercise, and went, "Oh, I actually like this." And when I was young, I wish I would have had someone who would have been like, "Hey, you might want to someone to push me." I wasn't going to touch anywhere near an NCAA anything, but I probably would have played more pickup and rec ball, and probably just been a more fit person. So I'm glad that others have those opportunities. Here's where it gets kind of fun, or maybe not so much. So Mamadou is the reason we had Diallo and we had Cham and others here at UCF. And allegedly, in January, was trying to find a new location for not only Cham, but for himself, allegedly. And based off of the timing, it was very close to when we got to that 7-game losing streak. Now, I'm not saying that's a correlation, but that's certainly interesting. So, fast forward to the Crown. When we get to the Crown, well, we beat Cincinnati, so that's interesting in hindsight, because everyone was in town for like a week or so. We beat Villanova, and again, allegedly, it's been rumored. I want to put as much caveat I can to that Chell was asked to take it back off a little bit so he didn't get hurt or injured, because they knew Mamadou and Cham's agent, who is also our basketball coach at UCF, that he was going elsewhere. Now, in my opinion, all UCF fans knew that he was probably going elsewhere. We probably didn't have the money to get him elsewhere. He deserved to, on his own merit, earn $1 million or $2 million in this type of market with his skill set, his size. We all saw this. When you can be I would say stretch five, but close. Like he would pull you out of the paint and hit a three. And with the way modern basketball is working, and I'd love to have an entire segment on this. That's reasonable. And Mike saying that UCF offered him a sizable deal, and I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt if we offered him near $1 million or somewhere near that. Just use him and surround him with people who want to be with someone who can do those type of things. It's a skill set when fully developed, and we'll see what Cincinnati does with that. When fully developed, he should be a lottery pick or darn near close. Well, what ends up happening is he takes time, backs off a little bit. We don't win the Crown. It's what it is. There's some money there, but an extra 30 grand per, or 20 or 30 grand per person. But to someone who's probably going to be making millions, sad but true. And you might see, if you look back at the Crown and you look at the effort of the players who are there, I commend Nils Matrosky, which hustled. Jews hustled. Darius Johnson obviously hustled. He's going probably overseas. But that's where we're at. And what ends up happening is, and we've seen this in all types of tweets on it, Auburn was interested, but not in the situation that was going on. Was it Duke, I think, was interested, but not in the situation that was going on, which is where Mike was saying that basically Mamadou is now a coach at Cincinnati, and Thiam is now a player at Cincinnati. You put it together. Mike's right. I mean, I'm assuming he individually got offered a significant amount of money, multiple places. Here, Auburn, Duke. I mean, everything out there in the, it could be rumors, but I don't think so. They loved him. They didn't love the situation. And like Mike was saying, allegedly, Cham's agent got paid more by Cincinnati than UCF's entire roster got last year, and I don't doubt it. But when you need to pay $4 million to get both of them, and then it's kind of the same situation where you come at like, okay, here's Chum, the next one. If we get another amazing person that gets built up to be a great basketball player or a really good prospect, where's it go from there? I'm not saying that college basketball is gone as we know it, but it's getting darn close. College football is somewhat there too. It seems like the people with the most money with their um, alumni, business partners, or whatever are getting to pick and choose. That is unfortunate. And I will say it's unfortunate because the rules are not uniform. If we're trying to play Moneyball here, and we all have within reason the same type of reasonable sets of how people can transfer and what they like. Imagine if LeBron James could hold. Imagine if I'll get to that, Mike, in a second. Imagine LeBron James could hold the Lakers hostage every single year. Imagine it, imagine if Gilgis Alexander could go, well, pay me $100 million next year, or I'm just going to go to another team. It's not sustainable, and you see Scottfrost talking about this a lot. And in football, it's a little different, but everyone knows this is not sustainable. So we really need to figure out how to do this uniformly or as reasonably as possible to give the most people the best amount of money. Yeah, let's name, image, and likeness. And no one's doing. I don't see any advertisements for any of these people who are getting nil money or NIL money. Let's do it as fair as possible to enrich both the athletes, and hopefully they are students too, but the athletes, and make this as reasonably fair as possible. It's just really, I, I hate to see two things. One, maybe Cham gets the offers he's getting because he had all this success over time in Senegal through these academies and these groups, and it's all that's the future. And whether it is a Cham or Diallo or it's Taco, and allegedly Taco chose UCF against wishes, allegedly. It's just like if Cham's getting offered 3 or 4 million from Duke or Auburn and they can afford it, but they're not going to take your coach or the person that brought you here. I don't know. I don't know these relationships. All I know is that this has been going on for a long, 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 long time. This is not just new things because money is out and about. It's just very, very public now. And, it's just kind of sad for the fans that all of this is really just a floating roster every year. So you are correct, Mike, as always. Um, uh, Mike is correct 3 in a row. So we do have a replacement with John Bol. We talked about John Bol last week, and actually Ben talked about in the chat, in our behind the scenes chat. He's going to do a recap of all the new people. I'm not going to go deep into it because Ben is phenomenal at this, so I'm not going to take that thunder. We'll take the new recruits that we've got. Maybe by next podcast we'll have a new one. Jermichael Stillwell, we hinted that he was going to join us, and he did. There's 2 other centers that popped on as well. So yeah, we did get someone to replace him and someone who will face him. And the question is, Cham is going to be hard to replace. I think we all realize that. So Mike's thoughts here, we should have fired Mamadou the day before he announced he was going to Cindy. It's interesting because part of me and the fan of me is like, absolutely, like, if I own a business, if I heard of one of my managers trying to take a manager and someone else to a competitor, I'd feel some type of way. I definitely would. So yeah, I definitely feel some type of way, and we will see how that all works. So yeah, we'll see if this. We'll see what happens next year. Um, Cincinnati needs to be a little bit better than they were this year, though. Like let's call it what it is. We haven't beaten Cincinnati in about 7 games until that Crown basketball tournament. They had all their players, so they have absolutely no justification. We had a lot of our players out, and they just took one of them. So they need to improve greatly. They are a old school with old money who should have old bankrolls, who should be able to be doing better than losing to UCF in the college basketball crown. That is unacceptable to them and very acceptable to us. So that's kind of where we're at with Chom. I mean, I wish I could wish him good luck, but I can't. I mean, I just not, and it's uh, and I'll end basketball on this. Um, TBF should be probably, to be frank, they've paid 5 times their salary in the last 10 years and have essentially the same results. Yeah. I mean, and truth be told, I'd have to research Cincinnati NCAA tournaments, but we're like one non-call on Zion Williamson, and one should have been tipped back from probably getting further. I don't know if they've been in the Sweet 16 in the last decade. I'm not going to do that research. No one can do that and try to throw that in the chat. He probably won't. But that's yeah. Doing more with less. That's UCF's way, whether it's sports, academics, or otherwise. And we do our best with the resources we have. That's across the board. So, all right, that's basketball for you. I told you this is going to be less than 2 hours because when we don't have others popping in, it's the Josh and Mike and Noah show at this point. Anyone else wants to pop in, feel free. But we're gonna whip through some of these things real quick. Now, something that is, I will tell you, we had some exciting things going on in UCF Knights athletics. We don't even call it athletics anymore, but we actually had some really cool things happening in athletics this week. A lot of players, a couple players of the week, a lot of great sports going on, a couple of tough losses, and we'll get into some of those in just a moment. So let's start with baseball. All right, baseball's is fun. Baseball right now, we had this midweek. We're coming off some we're just not finding our way, and we destroy Kansas State in Manhattan, and then just get flushed down the toilet the next 2 games. Close games, but well, I shouldn't say close games. I think it was like 8-0 or whatever. We almost came back on Sunday, but we're losing the series. We're losing to North Florida and Jacksonville. Kansas is good this year, but pretty much whipping us. 3 straight losses, and we're like, what happened from the beginning of the season? I don't. I'm not saying that Monmouth was a world changer, or the cows are phenomenal. Actually, I have no idea if they're good or not. To be frank, Bryant, Missouri, Siena, these are not like world beaters. But we thought we actually had a little something, and then Houston. And then, because I guess we were just frozen in BYU. And then after that, just loss after loss after loss, even midweek season. Like, we got a win versus Stetson because it was rain till 8-5. So what's going on with baseball? So this week, Florida A&M comes into town. We win 5-1. Okay, it's A&M. They're probably not that great of a team. I'm not sure how they're doing this year, but we won one. Oh, thankfully. And then we play number 15 TCU at home, and we just kind of get smacked that first game 6-1. Here it comes again, right? And the reverse happens on the Friday game. We're all the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because last Sunday, obviously a holiday for some, and we win 5-1. We're like, oh, okay, we got a rubber match. And in the holiday game, which is what they called, sponsored by FBC Mortgage. If you want to give us some of that FBC Mortgage money, FBC Mortgage, I will say FBC Mortgage one more time for free, and then you pay for it. We win 4-2 with a stunner of an out in my saucer. I think he went 8 plus it was 8 and maybe 1 batter. I'm not sure if he got a batter out in the 9th. I'd have to double check that. That's just right off the top. But we're yeah. Saucer got what we at 8. Yeah, he got 8. I think he faced 1 batter, but didn't get him out in the 9th. And Galvin came in and closed it off with 2 strikeouts and 3 batters. So, and we win. TCU, I think TCU kind of is our foil a little bit. And I'll talk about that more in just a little bit. So, TCU gets beaten by UCF 2 out of 3. We had no shot on the Thursday, and we win. And let's be clear here. TCU is now 12-6 in the Big 12. That means they've only had, prior to this weekend, 4 losses. They've only had 12 losses this entire season, and 2 of them are from us. So UCF is now doing a smidgen better in baseball, and that is like a big win. It's so big of a win. Spoiler alert: Saucer got co Big 12 pitcher of the week this week. We're now a little bit better, and we're 12-17 or 6-12 in conference. We have a 2-game win streak, right? And we have a couple of I would say, yeah. I'm looking down we have a big series coming up. We have Florida Atlantic coming up on a midweek, and then we get to host this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, number 10 West Virginia at 6-1. 3 separate sponsors. Their name's not coming out of my mouth until you pay us. So these are 2 series where we could have had some problems. We lose another series to a ranked team, and then we go into another series. There's a lot of problems. So I feel like, let's see if the bats come out in West Virginia. Let's see if it's really it's this mix. It's like when the bats aren't going, when the bats are going, the pitching isn't as good. The pitching is going, the bats are silent. It's this weird, interesting thing. Some people seem to be in funks when it comes to how they're doing this year. It's a very interesting time, but there's enough time left. We knock on probably particle board. We actually pick up 1 or 2 against Virginia. Would be phenomenal. Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. And then we have, we're going to be in Stillwater for Oklahoma State. We still have Texas Tech left back in Lubbock. We're not going to be like, once we get done, like the first half of May, we don't get back. We're taking like the first 2 weeks straight up on the road. I mean, we're going to Stillwater. We're going to Springfield, Missouri. We're going to Lubbock, Texas. I think we're coming home. Who knows at this point? We're talking close to the end of the semester. I doubt they keep him out for 14 weeks. I don't think Coach wants to be away from his wife and kids that long. But like, we have a long road streak, and that's going to be kind of tough too until we get back to John Juliano Park for Baylor at the Presbyterian and Baylor at the mid of May, and then go back to Arlington for the Big 12 baseball championship. We have 12 more games. We can win some series and actually start making some noise, but we're going to have we're going to have to win many series to get a shot at potentially getting a sniff of going anywhere in the tournament and maybe getting a selection. I know that's probably so far out of the realm of reality to try to get on the road to Omaha for some of you older UCF baseball fans. But we need to start hustling. Like, we need to find like 13 to 16 wins. Don't know what's going to happen, but we need to start hustling a little bit. So let's see what happens. We have all that coming up in the next week, almost all in Orlando. Yeah, right. That's why I make sure. I don't want to speak out of turn. Yeah, all in Florida. We're going down to FAU on Tuesday, 22nd. I'd say, Nobra, if you have any comments on baseball, feel free to throw it in the scroll. Doubt that you do, but just in case, I actually should take you out to a baseball game one of these days. We only have a couple things back. We'll get you out of work and watch some baseball or softball. So that's baseball doing good. Saucer Big 12 co-picture of the week. Pretty awesome. So those are the big sports that we talk about mostly. We're going to talk about some listener love. We'll do some other things, some sports that Alan doesn't watch as well, and go through there. Not bad. 40 minutes. Just Josh. Not too many diversions or pontifications yet. So that is welcome. So, all right, we're going to swivel. See, Roger, I know you're going to listen to this in post, and I tried.
Swivel.
There you go, swivel. There you go. That's how I get you out of. I hope you didn't see. I don't have the host control, so I can't just pop him in while he's like eating Subway or something. It's unfortunate. So, okay. Here we go. Yeah. And in the private chat, he absolutely does not have anything to talk about in baseball. But what we do have to talk about is you, our dear gentle listener. We are starting to get to some round numbers. I think we're a couple of hundred on every social right now, which is pretty cool. Maybe we'll have some updates on those in the future. That'd be a good time, Roger. I know you're gonna listen to post to maybe we'll do some of the other things we talked about. We have 3 listener loves. Oh, this is good. Look at that segue. Okay, so this is good, and this is from a UCF alum and one of our socials. He said, "Great show again," which is great. You better say it for this one too. If I can hit a decent out of the park solo, I'll take a Han Solo home run. It'll be great. Great show again. Thank you. I was probably on that show too. I missed the reason why you don't say pivot anymore. Swivel is okay. What about segue? Okay, so I'll recap briefly and maybe we'll chat about it more. First of all, thank you for leaving some comments. We appreciate it. Better than the time I was told I was like one of the guys in the Polar Express. That wasn't great. But yeah, I think the pivot. So you know pivot, right? The pivot that comes from friends. We all know that. If you don't know that, well, knowyourmeme.com or something. So pivot is where we kind of started. It was something that organically happened. I think someone yelled it out while we were trying to figure out a transition from one piece to another. And the reality is that I think because all of us were doing it in a segmented way, like we weren't saying it at the same time, we were trying to figure things out. I think, if I remember, it was either Andrew Fakely in the side chat or someone in slid in our DMs is like, no one likes the pivot. It's unprofessional. I think it was Fakely who was like, it's unprofessional. And, listen, I grew up listening to Howard Stern in New York in the 90s. Probably shouldn't have been, but I did. And so I am used to Shock Jock. I am used to Monsters in the Morning when I came down here in the late 90s, early 2000s, and Russ Rollins and Savannah and that crew and Dirty Jim. And they're kind of this, I would say, yuck it up, not necessarily shock, but energetic group of people working together to make your morning better or provide some insight or do something interesting or fun. That's my basis of this type of radio / podcasting. And I will swivel quickly and side note. I was an FCC licensed broadcaster and actually worked on a radio station for 4 years when I was in high school. WKWZ 88.5 FM. We had 100,000 kilowatts of radiated power. I actually was in contact with Lookout Records in the 90s, getting the Mr. T Experience and Green Day CDs into our station so we can play it. Shout out to a lot of old bands that you do know and probably then have never heard of. So I had a lot of this radio experience, and this is what I listened to and sometimes emulated. So the concept of like everyone getting together in this group format and saying pivot was normal to me. We've been told otherwise. So we decided at some point, like Swivel happened, or we were trying to figure out what to say, and I think that kind of happened organically a couple months back. Segue is the same syllables. I think that's a little like too fourth wall, right? It's like, hey, I'm looking right into your eyes, and we're going to segue. I don't know if the swivel might be good. I like the thing. I don't know, but that's kind of what happened. I'm going to bring Andrew Fagley and or someone who was in our DMs, and it's something fun. Pivot's not ours, right? And I actually, if I remember correctly, I think Pivot may not have been. It may have been in the script, or it might have been improv. I don't know. That might be a Schwimber special, but Swivel is definitely ours because no one is saying Swivel when they want to segue into the next segment like this. So that we had another great, listener. Okay. Oh! Thank you. This is actually Roger answering. We had a listener say they hated it because not everyone participated, so we tried something new. Well, if I just moved forward, I could have just said that. We're on Swivit now. No, we're not doing Swivit. I don't think Swivit is the thing now. Swivit is not the move. I actually think Swivel's kind of cool. It's a running gag. Now, Ben does hate it, which is fine because Ben is not here. We appreciate shout outs. I'll mention to the guys. He said, I'm out of pocket. This is yesterday. I'm out of pocket from birthday tomorrow. Please share with your friends and thank you. It sounds very Roger of him. And thank you, UCF alum. Sometime today said happy birthday, and we all want to wish happy birthday to Roger as well. And throw some buon compleanno a te in Italian from my macaroni grill days, but I am about 45 minutes in and parched, so that is not going to happen. Maybe for another day. Yeah. And this is the promise on anyone listening in post. If you need me to sing an Italian happy birthday to you, like I did Macaroni Grill for a year or two while I was a little bit post grad, I owe you one. All right. So thank you, listeners, for giving us some love and asking why it moved to Swivel, which we are doing right now. Look at that.
Swivel!
Hitting it right on the post. Swivel! Hitting it right on the post. I can do it. I can still do my my DJ stuff. It's been a hot minute. So, Alan, would you like to give your oxymoronic stat of the... Oh, he's not here. Okay. I got nothing. He didn't even leave anything on the comments here, which would have been fun. But Alan, thank you again for the notes. We do split some note between myself and I do the sports that Alan doesn't watch, of course. Roger fills in with a lot of stuff that we are talking about. And then we'll just put in something in other, like Jameel Hill we had last week, and I'm just going to delete that right out there. And she didn't shout us out. She must not be a United Ones fan, and we didn't get a shout out on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. And we also have some other stuff in here. So I will tell you this. When I got the, hey, it's just you, I decided I'm not going to do a funny fact of the week because I love Noah, but he's not going to answer any of the fun facts, and that's fine. So no fact for the week this week. I'll see if I can give one to the guys next week. I will not be here. So you got me all for one day, and then a little silence next week. Okay, so a couple of other things we're talking about. We're talking about nil, and actually, this is interesting. Nil and you, the nil committee article. So I'm going to. So there's two things I want to talk about, and actually, let's see here, Noah. I could talk about how UCF is suing someone, and I can talk about the nil committee. Which one do you want me to talk about? Nil and you. Yeah, I might actually save that. What do you think? Do you want me to talk about UCF suing someone, or do you want to talk about nil and you by myself?
Suing.
I love it. Okay, yes. So let's do this. I am going to swivel, and we'll leave Nil and you for the wonderment of Roger and the guys to talk about next week. UCF. Look, OBJ, Orlando Business Journal, does a lot of wonderful things. I enjoy reading the Orlando Inno and a lot of their other pieces. And today at about 1:30, OBJ has this wonderful headline: UCF Athletics use former real estate partner. Got to love it. Now, here's the deal. Alleges breach of contract. Now, this is an interesting one because I work in the legal space and I am not an attorney. I've done legal technology for a long time. And the reality is, sometimes you need to protect your patent. Sometimes you need to protect your IP. Sometimes you need to show that you'll actually do something. This one's an interesting one. So, in 2022, now this is 2022. This is pre Big 12. We're still in the proud P6 American. UCF entered into a marketing agreement with Core Group. They were designated as the official real estate partner for UCF Athletics. Now, let's just stop right there. If you did not know that Core Group were the official real estate partners of UCF Athletics, no one got their money's worth, because I can tell you there are a couple of people in real estate that I do know in town that are very tied to UCF. They didn't drop this level of money on a partnership, and back we're talking 2022, where we're still, things are doing okay with homes, and mortgage rates going up a little bit, but I think they agreed to about 70 grand a year, which, if at 3% commission at the time, you sell a couple of homes and you could do good. This agreement was for 3 years. It was like 70 grand a year. And the core group got digital signage and radio advertisements, game name privileges. You can use UCF logos and trademarks. I think they had access to some UCF HR records, within reason, so they can know who is coming into, who's being hired. Maybe it's just athletics. I need to check that. So, Gus comes into town, wants to buy a $2 million home. Well, that's a good chunk of your money right there. So I can see that being reasonable, right? Like, let's just say one real estate agent was the real estate agent for all the new coaches in UCF Athletics, or most. With the turnover we just got last year, that'll pay for that 70 grand pretty quick, you'd think, with all the houses and things they would be buying. Well, what happened was this core group failed to make payments, up to about $136,000. And last year, this core group dissolved, and then a new entity arose, or actually, a related entity has been in business since 2018. Kind of took over their work, if you will, and UCF is alleging that this is a continuation of that past business that dissolved, and therefore should be a continuation of the agreement and should actually have the debt. The organization has the same address, website, line of business, and key personnel, just an internal core. Even despite the dissolution of the core group, the both entities accepted benefits underneath corporate tailgate in September 2024. It's a very interesting thing. So here's what they paid. They paid about 77 grand, and they're out 136. And I own a business. If I thought, I'll be frank here, if I thought I could put into UCF $200,000 and get $1 million out of it, I'd do it. I see the benefit here, and as part of what they were to receive, they would be the primary real estate group for new hires to the Alumni Association and have access to their human resource personnel. So I can see this. You get enough Frost, and I don't think Frost left his home here. I think he probably had his home here the whole time, I'm guessing. But the Frost, the Heupels, the Gusses, and all the other people working. If people are making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, you good. If you have, let's say the people making nil might be doing it too. So this makes sense. I have no idea how they did not make money on this. And maybe it was Gus. You would think you'd make more money but going to the Big 12. I don't understand. I'm looking at all these spots. I'm looking at all this game day. I'm looking at all this digital signage, baseball, softball, ucfknights.com, football assets, basketball assets. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, how you're a real estate company in town, how can you not make the $210,000 back? I know, and let me be clear. They really stopped making payments from mid 23 to mid 24. We're not talking in the last like 4 to 6 months where the real estate market has gone kind of sideways. At least in Orlando, there's the inventory is going up, not as much as being sold. They stopped paying in and owed a little money, but really stopped paying in about mid 2023. How do you sign this agreement and not realize this is going to happen? So here, that's what's going on. At the end of the day, I don't think what I hope happens as a minimum that UCF just gets. I'm assuming they try to settle out of court. Didn't get what they wanted. Filed a lawsuit. I'd guess like 90% this is not going to go to a trial. Hopefully they get some level of pennies on the dollar and just make this go away. But I don't understand why athletics let it last this long, and I don't understand why business partners in the community aren't putting up their commitments. There's too many other really good people, really great organizations that are UCF affiliated who are real estate agents that maybe not putting in that much money, but would be willing to help. This makes no sense to me as a business person unless something else is not there. So UCF is suing to make some money or get some money back that they were owed. I get it. They probably didn't get this done I wonder if they could just end an arbitration, to be honest. But the reality is there's no settlement before filing a lawsuit. File a lawsuit. We won't see anything about this, I think, in another year or so. Business court is usually slow. Hopefully they work it out sometime soon. It's just, it's sad. And maybe I don't know if that much money, but I will tell you this: at some point, I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is for this little light man back there, and maybe donate some money to UCF on behalf of my business and see if that helps. But not $70 a year. I don't have that yet. UCF, don't hit me up. Roger does though. I'm kidding. I really wish he was here for that part. I'll probably get some comments from him in there. So anyway, I love local businesses helping. I like great sponsors like 3MG, and I'm only using them because they sponsor UCF so much. They do a lot for UCF. So does Cavallero and other great companies. There are people that do great things, and I love UCF working with local businesses. I don't want to see any business that I know of or I'm affiliated with in this side of this situation. Just be like a Lannister and pay your debts. What you got? No, anything? Anything? Hey, we actually have. I just noticed in the chat. We actually have Roger in the chat. Okay, so Roger, we're gonna throw Rogers in chat. Thanks. He's thanking me for giving me the night off for my birthday with a K for the night. Yes, Ben will definitely give us details for hoops. I already talked about that. If you're listening live, $2 million to our former coach and over $1 million to Thiam. Jesus, I really hope that's not true, but you know that probably is. I thought I saw the coach number for Cincinnati at like 1.6 over 1 or 2 years. I know that Thiam had to get more money from Auburn and Duke than that. Had to. They weren't going to pay Amadou. They weren't. Roger. Okay, I already have comments. I got my phone's on silent. We got to check my phone after this. So, all right, man. When you say I did not expect to go over an hour, but we're going to do it, it will be under 2. Roger, you are listening. So, this is what's going on with athletics. Maybe we'll see some money out of it, but just here's the thing: if you're a business owner, be a Lannister, pay your debts, do good things for UCF, especially if you're alumni. I don't know if any of those 2 who are getting sued are. Okay, time to swivel, and we'll talk about NIL or NIL next time as we
Swivel.
talk about. That's what. Thank you. I like the popping. It's like boop. Love that. Okay, so we have nothing from me of fun stuff. We have that going on. Oh, we'll do the quick update on other UCF sports that Alan doesn't watch. I feel like at some point I'd get a jingle like quick update on UCF sports that Alan doesn't watch, or something much better than that. That was way horrible. We're not using that. And don't you dare cut that up. I want one more shot at it. Okay, let's talk about the sports that Alan doesn't watch, which is definitely tennis, because tennis to Alan is boring, but to me it's great. Men's tennis did some amazing things this week. They picked up their highest seeded win ever versus number TCU in the semifinals. Unfortunately, they did lose in the finals in the first time this season to Arizona. They beat them twice already, but lost when it counted most, 4-1 for the tournament trophy. So the selection show for the NCAA tournament is on April 28th, and the Knights are going to look to get into that top 16 to host the first 2 rounds, hopefully in Lake Nona at USTA's national campus. We'll know that next week, and then you're going to listen to this between now and the next week. So next week we'll know. Number 22 women's tennis got into the final of the Big 12 tournament, but unfortunately, they lost 2 things. They lost to number 15 Texas Tech 4-2, which is what they did last year. They lost. I was watching some of that live. They lost the doubles, which is really, it was tough because Texas Tech has a really good singles team, and we were down in. We were kind of like down in 3 games and up in 3 games, and even then, it would be 4-3. One of the girls lost 2 sets straight, and we didn't even get to finish one of them. Lost 4-2. That loss unfortunately puts the women outside of the hosting range too, so they know where they're going to travel also on April 28th for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, because both of them will actually be there. Softball almost pulled it out. So we had women's tennis beating some great teams. We had men's tennis beating the second-ranked team in the nation. We had the baseball team. They both beat TCU, actually. A baseball team beating number 15 team in the nation. And softball beat number 21 Oklahoma State 1 time out of 3. But unfortunately, that was it. They are 26-20-1, going 7-11 in conference play. They went 1-2 versus Oklahoma State, losing 0-7, winning 12-6 in a ridiculous first inning, and losing 3-4 in 8 innings where it was 2-2. Oklahoma State got 2 in the top of the 8th. We got 1 in the bottom of the 8th, but couldn't come all the way back to tie. Up next is Stetson at a midweek game on April 23rd at 6 p.m. in DeLand in a home series versus Houston, the last series at home. That is on April 25th, 26th, 27th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 6, 2, and noon, respectively. I may be in attendance in one of those games. I have a friend in town from Australia. She loves, and I've gotten her addicted to UCF sports from met her on a cruise with my wife, and 10, 15 years ago, maybe at this point. And every time she comes to Florida, which is often, she's been to a UCF football game. She's going to Orlando Pride game. She's going to try to go to a softball game, I hope, with us. So maybe I'll throw in a talk to her, see if maybe sometime we can get her to maybe pop on the show and talk about being a UCF fan out of Australia, of all places. So we'll see what happens. That is the last home sale of the year, and Sunday is senior night. Number 25 rowing. Yes, rowing. Actually, they're not 25 anymore. Nope, not yet. Just teased you. This week they're coming up versus number 1 in Texas. Versus number 1 Texas, Austin, Stanford. Stanford is going to be there. It's going to be a huge meet. We'll see. They had a lot of second and third places against really, really good teams last time they were up. Can we squeak out a win against number 1 team in the nation? We'll see. At home, we'll also see. All right, so that's where we're at. No, bro, what is on the... Oh, okay. Roger, that's going on a short. I'm like all stuffy. I don't have a singing voice on me. My throat has not been doing good. I did an hour straight with Nobra going swivel in the middle of it. I definitely need to figure out a better and straight up I'm stealing that from Short Pocket Monster, which is a YouTuber who does opening packs of Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, which is I don't know, copyright infringement. No, it isn't. He said you can do remixes. So we'll see what happens with that. I appreciate all the feedback in the chat. Nobra, is there anything else I'm supposed to do this week? You're the producer.
Go Knights.
Oh, come on. Okay. I get you. He gets to be on screen for this. Okay, so we have all kinds of stuff coming up next week. It'll be more than me and not me for episode 85. 85, man, that's just... that we've been doing this for almost 2 years. This is, and Roger and some of them have been doing it for like a decade plus. So we have a lot of stuff coming up for you next week. We'll get no one's going to give you here. This is my pledge to you because I've said it live and it's on a recording. Someone from this team is going to look up the updates on rowing and give it to you next week because I know you come here for the Coxswain coverage. Look at that improv. So I'm going to make sure that is going to happen. So someone will give you Coxswain coverage of rowing next week because I won't be here. Who knows if you'll know about tennis or anything else or softball, but someone will give you some of that information. Alan might be here for a funny fact if he's not up at 4 a.m. the next day. Or oxymoronic stat, and that's pretty much what we're going to do. That is an hour and 4 or 5 of Josh and like 0.24 seconds of Nobra for this episode 84. Do you have anything to say before we go and do the Go Knights charge on Nobra? And Roger, yes, someone is talking about rowing next week. They have to. I put it in the live show. And if this is not this is the short. You're talking about rowing. Someone's talking about rowing because those women deserve it. They are killing it in the lakes of the United States. Nobra, anything else?
The reason I haven't been using the goggles is because my girlfriend used them to cut onions, and I haven't been able to find.
It's we're doing it live. I'm like directing Roger to do stuff that he doesn't want to do live. It's wonderful. I love the goggles, but the problem is if she's been cutting onions and she had the goggles on, if you put the goggles on when you find them, the outside's okay. The inside should be fine. Outside's just a little, right? I mean, yeah,
we'll be oniony. We'll be fine.
Roger's ordering instead on Amazon. Yeah. That's great. Listen, and I will tell you, there's another trick of cutting onions. I'm pretty sure if it's something like if you put them into ice or something like that, you never get any of that. No one does it, but there is another trick to cutting onions without getting without crying. So maybe research that. Yeah. Maybe you'll research that and you get your goggles back. Awesome. All right. This is straight up. If you're live, Roger. Okay. So
I'm not putting it in the chat, but
no, it's not going in the chat. But like, Rogers has some good ones here. Like Rogers, like he's doing my crappy singing into a short. My singing can be good, just not when I'm this nasally, and I am not prepared. And I'm going an hour straight. Roger gave me some pauses. That's great. He refuses to the talk about the Coxswains. So that's I'm holding you to that. Ben absolutely will give another detailed hoops lineup update. And I will tell you, if you made it this long, indulge me for another few minutes. Ben gave like an ESPN level detailed analysis of our hoops team, because obviously he'll have to do that every single year now. He did a great update at the middle of episode what was it, 82? It was 2 episodes ago, where I'm just like, I'm sitting back here like this. I mean, it was so good. I thought I was listening to like a watch or something. Like it was phenomenal. So he will give another detailed hoops update. He apologized for not being here this week. You're probably going to see Trey next week, and I won't. So yeah. And Roger's saying is, I'm trying to stretch this. No, I want to make sure everyone has the detailed UCF in Coxswain Karaoke with Josh. Yeah, maybe we'll see. If you get me in the middle of a lake with mics and someone from the UCF rowing team, I'll do it. It's recorded. If someone from the UCF rowing team wants to get me into the middle of a lake and we want to do Coxswain Karaoke, and you don't dump me in the lake, I'm down with it. I'm down with it. I definitely would do that. The rowing team's never getting this, so not in a Speedo or a one lit, and that's for the benefit of the amazing rowers. They don't want to see that, so neither does the public. So appreciate it. This is what happens. This is what happens when I get to take over the mic. I don't have Roger to cut me off, but we are.
And with that,
no. We are going to end it. Hey, thank you so much for your time, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful hour live with us. Mike, thank you as always for being in the chat and bringing us some amazing information. I'm sure Roger has some really, really, really good details of who else was in here that I can't see, unfortunately. And I really appreciate everything that you do to help UCF sports thrive in this interesting, weird times we're in when it comes to sports and college. So thank you so much. And Nobro, how do we end?
Go Knights and
Charge on. See, this is my improv. I can look at lips and actually say things at the same time. It's really